length more than 4. Is that clear? So yeah, so let's quickly jump onto the code. Let's try to write the code for this problem statement. So we have been given the string s, and we have to find the longest possible subsequence, which is a palindrome. Okay. So as I already told you that I don't like to work with zero-based indexing. So let's convert first this into a one-based indexing. So let's declare some another string. Let's say e. Okay. I'll append a character at the rate in front of s, so that I have shifted my string. In case of vector, I was find the so Sridham is giving one approach, find the number of times the alphabet is occurring and then give the maximum of them as output. No, Sridham. So let's say you have this case. I'll give you one case. So for this, the count of capital A is 2, small a is 2, and the count of small b is 2. So answer in your case, it should be 2, but actual answer is 4 because the complete string is palindrome. Okay, so let me convert this into a one-based indexing string. So by adding a character in the starting, I have converted this string from a one-based indexing string. Okay. Now, before even that, let me take the size of the string. Size. So, let me send PDS. So, let me try to think of the solution. What all can be the possible solution? So you'll have to tell me the cases. Just tell me the cases, just like you have did in the knapsack problem, the knapsack that items problem, maximum happiness problem. We have to write the number of cases. For that, we need to define the states. What all can be the states? The type of the return type of the function I'm choosing here is int because I need to return the length here. That is 4. So now I'm naming the function as go. I'm taking 2 arguments, and idx and gidx. Idx is denoting the starting position of the string, and gidx is denoting the ending position of the string. So here I'm defining my go function in such a way such that if I give go function idx and gidx, it will return me max subsequence from idx to gidx. So I'm giving this function 2 arguments, idx and gidx, and I'm defining my function in such a way such that if I give the function as idx and gidx and string p is already given as an input. So if I give these 3 things, it will return me the length of maximum palindromic subsequence starting from idx and gidx in the string p. So I'm trusting this go function that it will give me this thing. I'm saying that if my idx is already greater than gidx, that means if my first element, let's not write the base case first. This is the base case basically. Let's forget about the base case. Let me write the recursive case. So this is denoting my first index of the string that I want to consider. This is denoting the first. So let's say I have given for this string, I have given first idx is 1 and gidx is 5. I know if both of these are equal, then you can just find the maximum in this maximum palindromic subsequence in this string, and you can append a b at the left and b at the right. Right? You can add a b at the left and b at the right, and you will get a maximum length subsequence. So if the first character is equal to the last character, you can get a maximum of 2 because you are considering of this first character and the last character. 2 length plus I'm asking my go function to find the maximum palindromic string, which is palindromic subsequence, which is starting from idx plus 1 and ending at idx minus 1. right? In this case, what I'm doing is I'm saying that if IDX and GIDX are same, just find me a, so let's say my string is A, some string in the middle, and then last character is also. So I'm asking my Go function that I know that these two are same. So I can add this as part of my subsequence. I can add all of these because palindrome essentially means the first character should be equal to the last character, second can be equal to second last. And I'm asking my Go function that, let's say I'm choosing this A and this A is my part. So I've added this 2, the length 2 is already added. You just give me the maximum palindromic subsequence that you can get starting from IDX plus 1 and then you get JIDX plus 1. And if they are not equal, what we can simply do is, so if we go in this else part, that means this first character is not equal to the last character, right? First character is not equal to the last character. So that can be the case as first character is A and last character is B. So I need to eliminate some possibility. So in this case, what we can do is we can simply ask our Go function that, as I know that IDX character at IDX is not equal to character at JIDX, so you can either leave me and remove this A and find the maximum palindromic subsequence from this part, or you can leave GIDX and you can find the maximum palindromic subsequence from this part, and you can return the maximum of both of them because these are the possible 3 cases. So I can simply return answer. So these are the possible cases. I need to make decision. I have made all the decision. If first character is equal to the last character, I'm going to add it to my string. So 2 is already added, and I'm trusting my Go function that if I pass this IDX plus 1 and JIDX plus 1, it will return with the maximum palindromic subsequence starting from IDX plus 1 and then we get JIDX plus 1. If they are not equal, they can't be part of any subsequence. We have to leave one of the elements. So we have taken both the cases. In the first case, we are leaving the IDX element, and in the second case, we are leaving the JIDX element. Okay, and what can be my base case? So my base case can simply be if both of my characters are same, that means I can simply return our, because let's say, because one length string is already a palindrome, right? If I want to find the maximum length palindrome subsequence starting from IDX and ending at GIDX, where IDX and GIDX are same, that means it's already a palindrome. So we can simply return a 1 here. And here we can simply return by calling this starting from 1. You need to find the answer from 1 to 8, right? Let me run the code. Stack overflow. It is saying stack overflow for some of the cases. Okay, so let me add this part. I know I am using this 2 arguments, so, and both of these can be from 1 to 1000, right? So let me declare this as size 1001 and 1001. Check if 3p of IDX and JIDX are equal to -1, and return 3p of IDX and JIDX. Finally, return this 3p of IDX, and in this method, fill the complete DP array with the help of -5. This is similar to my ABCD array. Out of bounds, yeah. What can be the potential issue in this case? Can you see any potential reason why this failing? Anyone? Just write it on the chat. Can anyone see any reason of failing this? Are you getting what I'm trying to explain? People, are you getting this question? Write a yes, no if you are not getting it. Anyone. People, I need a yes or a no. Are you getting it? Guys, like if you won't let me know that you are you able to get anything from what all I'm saying, I won't be make I won't be able to do anything, right? I need your inputs. I need your inputs. Are you able to understand anything in this question? Yes, no. Okay, others. I got a one yes. Also, in the meantime, tell me the problem. Like, what is the problem that this code can have? Why it is failing? So, should I add this as a base condition? If my IDX is greater than GIDX, that means I need to return 0. Will this work? Let's check. It is working. It is working. Let me try to submit the code once. Oh, it got accepted. So what was the problem? So the problem was if my starting index is greater than the uh, last index, that means we can't find any subsequence, right? That means we can't find any subsequence. So let's take the example of one string which is PB. I'm passing go 1 comma 2 because that is what I want in my answer, right? It will check that the first character is equal to the second character. But after that, what it will do is it will go in this condition. The first character is equal to the last character. And what it will do is it will do a 2 plus, which is equal to 2 plus go of 2 comma 1, right? Go of 2 comma 1. Okay. But there is no string that do exist for this 2 comma 1, right? There is no string because this is the starting index and this is the ending index. Go function is saying that if you will pass me some IDX and GIDX, I can give you the maximum palindromic subsequence from starting from IDX and ending at GIDX, right? But IDX should be less than equal to GIDX. Otherwise, you won't get a string. So that was the problem, and adding that condition. Do you have any doubts, guys? Guys, please write a yes or a no, or do you want me to explain it slowly, or have you understood this? Can we move on to next problem? This basically simply recursion. This is simply recursion. Here I'm trying all the possibilities. This is my base cases, and here I'm checking have I already completed that answer or not. Other people apart from Sriram, do you have any doubts? Thanks, Sufyan. Other people, I want a yes or a no. I should know, right, whether you are getting anything or not. Thanks, Shrikar. Others, write me a yes or a no or a little bit fast. People because my explanation will go in vain if you guys are not able to understand anything. Right? I should change my way or I think This is the easiest way to understand DP. This is the easiest way to understand DP. Write a recursive code, add this part. This part is known as basically memoization. I haven't named it, but this part is known as memoization. I need two or three more yes. Have you guys understood? I can see pretty less attendance today. Like, are you guys facing any problem? Are you guys facing any problem with all this? Other people, like apart from Sufyan, Shekhar, and Shriram, can any one of you write whether you are able to get it, not get it? Yeah, Shriram, I feel, even if you write this code in Java, let's say I'm thinking that you might know Java, nothing will change. Nothing will change. In that too, instead of this mem set, you have that arrays.fit, which will fill the complete array. Like most of the code will remain the same. Other people write me an opinion. Oh, okay, okay. So Nikita, you are saying so. Nikita, what all language are you comfortable with? Yeah, Sufyan. So okay, okay. So Sufyan is saying the pace is a little bit fast. Okay. Yeah. So C and Java. Nikita, you know C and Java, right? Uh, I feel this all part, this declaration of array and everything is similar to C or Java both. This is similar to C and Java, this complete function. And declaring a string is similar to Java only. And I'm adding this character. And this is basically equivalent to arrays dot fill in Java. This is basically assigning a string to another string. That is possible in case of C++ and Java too, but not with C. And I'm just calling the function. I think syntax won't change by any means. And I think I'm writing syntax agnostic code. Syntax won't change. Syntax won't change. In the cases where the syntax will change, I can tell you. But if you like try to run the same code for Java by changing this mem set to arrays.fill, I think that should work. Others. Okay, I think I'm getting some of the points now. But others are you facing any issues? But this is the base of. I told you right. Recursion is the base of DQ. Recursion backtracking is basically trying all the possibilities. Here I'm trying all the possibilities. This is the base case. This is the DP part. Code complete. Time complexity is the first. Um, this first dimension times the second dimension, which is 10 power 6, and 10 power 6 is close to 10 milliseconds, and you are getting 56 milliseconds, which is almost equal. Others. Any opinions on should I go a bit slow? Because I was told that I think you might have your exams on September, I guess. I don't know. Exams or maybe placements and everything. So I was going a little bit fast, not too much, but I'm going a little bit fast, and I'm repeating everything almost twice and thrice. And I suggest you to practice at home also. That will give you a clear understanding of all this. So if you write this code on your with your hands, you'll get to know each and every line. I know if I'm explaining the code, it can be difficult for you. Any other inputs, people? Any other inputs? Yes, no. Did you get this question? Can we move on to the next question, people? Yes, no. Okay. Uh, like I want more inputs. There are 50 people in the call, close to 50 people on the call. So I want some more inputs. Okay, so let's move on to the next problem. Okay, so its name is decode base. Yeah. So let me. Okay. Yeah. So in this question, what it is saying is you will be given the string S. You will be given the string S. You need to decode. You need to find the number of ways to decode this string. And by decoding, the problem writer means that you have to convert this particular string, the numeric string, the digit string, to uppercase, uh, uppercase alphabet string in such a way such that, let's say, you are taking a 2 alone and 26 together. So you know that second uppercase alphabet is B and the 26th character is Z. So BZ is one string. Another way you can decode this string is, you are taking 22 together and you are taking 6 alone. So you'll get a BF, which is different from this BZ, right? And another string that you can get is this from 2 to 6, which is BBF. So there are a total number of 3 ways in which you can decode this string. In case of 12, you can either make 1 and 2 separate, which will make AB, and if you are writing uh, 12, if you are taking 1 and 2 together, the string that you can get is L. And so total number of ways to decode this string is 2. If you are getting this 06, if you are getting this 06, Sriram, I didn't get your question, sir. Is it the number itself, or I mean the number of digits in the number? No, we'll be given a string S. We'll be given a string S, and for that particular string S, we need to check how many ways are there to decode that particular string. So if you see this 06, even if you take the 06 together, you can't make that string because 6 is equivalent to F, but 06 is not equivalent to F. 1 means A, 2 means B, 3 means C, 4 means B, up to 26 means Z. So you need to return the total number of ways to decode this string. Will be given a numeric string, you need to find the total number of ways to decode this particular string. And I know that if I'm taking this 2, so the maximum number that I can take together is 26, right? A number can't be bigger than that. And if sum of my digit is 0, then I can't take that alone. I need to add that 0 with something else. Let's say I can make that 0 as 10 if I had a 1 previous to that 0, or I can make that 20, but I can't take that 0 alone, right? So let me first do some pre-processing. Pre-processing means converting the string to a one-based indexing. Is the size. I'm calculating the length of the string. I declare this, and I'm adding a character at the rate in front of S and assigning S to P. And again, I'll write my go function. Let us see what can be the state. So I'll return this. The return type is int because I need to find the total number of ways. So I'm taking one position. I'm taking only one position. And I'm defining my go function in such a way that if you pass me IDX, if you pass me IDX, I'll return total number of ways to decode from IDX up to N. So this go function is saying, I'm defining this go function in such a way that if I pass an index to this go function, it will return me the total number of ways to decode string P from IDX up to the length of the string. So if let's write the base case afterwards. Okay. let's add a DP condition too, because I don't need to write the DP condition. DP, as I'm passing only one argument and the length of the string will maximum be 100. Let's give the string that says 101. I'll add a mem set. I'll fill this DP array with a -1. That means it is not visited. So if my DP of IDX is not equal to -1, then that means I need to return this DP of IDX. Otherwise. So I'm currently at IDX element. I need to make some decision on it. So let's find what is the digit at IDX index. So it will be key array of IDX. This is the character at IDX index. And I know it will be a numeric digit. So if I subtract this character 0 from it, I'll get an integer. So let's say my string is 1, 2, 3. If I find the first character, it is 1. If I subtract 0 from it, I'll get an integer 1. Subtracting 0 from a digit will give me an integer, because basically character is SKI value, right? SKI value of character 1 is 49. SKI value of character 0 is 48. So after subtracting both of them, you will get an integer. So I found the digit at in IDX index. So I'm saying if this digit is 0, if this digit is 0, you can't do anything else, because you can't take 0 alone, right? I told you, if your current digit is 0, you can't take that 0 alone. Otherwise, if I reach here, that means that digit is not 0. Let's find the next digit to IDX index. So if my next digit exists, if my next digit exists, that means my next digit will be P of IDX plus 1 minus 0. This is my next digit, right? So let's find the total number of cases. So in this case, if I reach at this point, that means my current digit is not 0. It can be from 1 to 9, because each of these digits can be from 1 to 9, right? So if I'm reaching here, that means my current digit is not 0. It is from 1 to 9, and that means I can take this alone and I can find the total number of ways of making from IDX plus 1 to n. No, basically it is just saying that I am taking this digit alone. You find me the total number of ways of making this, and I can add myself, I can append myself in front of all of them. So it's essentially saying, so let's say my string is 1, 2, 3. I can take one alone. I'm asking my go function to find me the answer for 2, 3, and what all cases will be there for 2, 3. That will be the number of cases for 1, 2, 3, right? That will be the total number of cases for 1, 2, 3, because I can append one in front of all the cases for 2, 3. Okay, so now what I can do is I can take this 1 to 12 or 1 to 2 together. So I found my next digit. So my total number is my current digit into 10 plus the next digit. So let's say I'm currently at 1. So my digit contains 1. My next digit will contain 2. And if I have to concatenate, if I have to make 12 out of both of them, what I need to do is I need to do 1 into 10 plus 2. Multiply this previous digit by 10 and add a 2 there. So this is what I'm doing. I got my number, and simply I can check if this number is less than equal to 26, because then I can take this together, both of them together, and I can find the number of ways for IDX plus 2. And I can simply return this. Basically, I'll assign this answer to DP IDX, and I can simply return this. I want to find the answer from 1 to up to the length of the array, so I'll pass 1 because that is what my go function is doing. And my base condition will be if I have finally if I have reached the last position, if I have explored all my digits, then that means I have succeeded in making a number. I have succeeded in making one number. So in this case, I'll return a 1 because I'm not adding anything here. I can't add anything here because there can be the case. So here what I'm saying is if I am reaching this position, that means I have taken my string, I have decoded it in certain form by splitting it in certain form. And if I'm reaching it here, that means this is one possible way. This is one possible way. And you can find all the possible ways. Yeah, I think that's it. Can you find any issue with this? Anyone, let me try to submit this and check whether it is working fine. Yeah, it worked. So what was happening in the previous cases? In the previous cases, we want to do maximum happiness, right? So in the previous cases, let's say the previous cases, the knapsack case, we were at IDX element. We were either picking it or leaving it. If you were picking it, then we were adding happiness and calling my method again for next index and the remaining weight. If we were leaving it, we were simply calling the next index without changing the weight. And I know my go function will do the same. But in this problem, what we are doing is, what we are doing is, uh, yeah, we are saying that this is my complete string. Let's say this is my digit 4. I can take this alone. I'll ask my go function to break this string. I'm asking my go function to break this string. So let's say we get a 1. So for if we get a 1, we can try two things. Either we can leave this one alone and ask my go function to break this particular string, or let's say the other string is 2. So from 1 we are doing two cases. Either we are taking this one alone, that means 4 is alone, 1 is alone. They are decoding it in certain way. This is B, this is A, and we are asking the go function to decode this particular string. The number of ways to decode this particular string is the number of ways of decoding this because we can append a D or A, both of them, right? And the other case can be we are taking this 1 to 12 together, right? Because 1 2 can go together. So we are taking 4 alone, 1 2 together, and we are asking this go function to calculate the answer from IDX plus 2. So if you see my code, this is what I'm doing. If my number is less than or equal to 26, because 26 is the maximum number, z is 26. So I'm asking my go function to break the string from IDX plus 2 all the way up to n. So in this case, what I'm saying is my 4 will go alone, 12 will go together. You find the total number of ways for all of these. And yeah, I think that's it. Similarly, if we get a 3, I know that 3 should have to go alone because if I'll append anything to this, it will be greater than or equal to 26. So we won't go into that case. Have you guys understood this? And in the end, if we are able to succeed in breaking whatever we are trying to, we'll return a 1. We'll return a 1. Because that means we have break it down in certain form. We have break it down into certain form. Have you guys understand this? Do you have any doubts in this? Not understood at all, let me know. I'll explain it again. Understood somewhat, need some more clarity, let me know. DP is simply base case, this DP part, and recursive case, and saving the answer. Yeah, I can repeat. I can repeat. Do you want me to start like from the scratch, from the description of the statement? Okay, so I guess you have understood the problem statement. Yeah, okay. So Manasa is asking, yeah, okay. So in this problem statement, we'll be given a numeric string. This is a numeric string. We can get 2 to 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, anything. We want to find the number of ways to decode this particular string. And by decoding, what they mean is they need to split it in such a way. Let's say I'm taking this 2 alone and just 26 together. That means I'm converting it into, if I'm taking B alone, if I'm taking 2 alone, it's a B. If I'm taking 26 together, it's a Z. So BZ is one string that is possible after decoding this. If we are taking 22 together and 6 alone, we'll get a BF because 22nd character is B and 6th character is F. If we are taking 2 alone and 6 alone, we'll get a BBF. So total 3 cases are possible to decode this. You can't take 2 to 6 together because that will be greater than equal to 26, right? So in this case, you can either take 1 and 2 separate or combine 1 2 together. So you have to find the total number of ways of decoding this string. So this is what my problem statement is. In case of 0, I know that my characters start from 1 all the way up to 26. So there is no possible way of decoding this string. So the answer is 0. In case of 06, either way we can take 06 together, but 06 won't get decoded to any string because 6 mapped to F, not 06. 06 is something different, and we can't make both of them separate because, as I told you, 0 is nothing. We have to find the total number of ways for splitting the decoding the string. So in this case, what we did was first we convert simply it into a one based indexing string because I like handling the problems from one based indexing instead of zero based indexing. And by default, string starts from zero index and end at n-1 index. So I take the size of the string and I've add the rate character, a junk character, a useless character in the starting. And then what I did was because my string s starts from 0 to n, 0 to n-1. So I've add the rate in the front. So now my actual string will start from 1 to n, not from 0 to n-1. And I've assigned that particular string to p so that it is globally accessible to me. I've defined this variable globally because s have the scope in this method and not outside of this method. So I've declared a global string. Now I've declared this go function. So go function is saying I'll give me one index and I'll tell you for the string p what is the number of ways to decode it from idx all the way up to n. This go function is saying give me an index and trust me, I'll return you the total number of ways of decoding this particular string from idx all the way up to n. Okay, so this was the base case. Let's discuss this afterwards. This is basically the DP part. DP part is saying if you have already computed the answer for all the arguments, in our case it's the only argument is idx, and idx is denoting my current index, which can be starting from 1 all the way up to n. So, and my n is a total of maximum of 100. So I'm declaring an array of size 1 more than that because 100 is basically of size 100. Then what I did was I picked the IDX digit. I checked what is the IDX digit because P is a string. The IDX character will give me a character, and if I subtract 0th character, this single quotes denotes a character. If I subtract 2 characters, then their ASCII value will get subtracted. So let's say this is a 6 character 6, and I'm subtracting 0 from that, then I'll get an integer. Then I'll get an integer 6. And I want to treat on integers. I don't want to work on strings. Okay, so that's why I plugged that digit. I checked if that digit is 0. If that digit is 0, because I need to make the decision on IDX index. I need to make the decision on IDX index and basically call this go method again for the remaining part. What I'm saying is if the digit is 0, then simply return 0 because I can't start anything from 0. IDX don't have to worry about what all have come before. I need to make the decision on IDX element. And if that digit is 0, I can't do anything. I can simply return 0. Otherwise, I need to find the total number of ways. So if I reach here, that means my current digit is greater than 0. And the digit can go from 1 to 9 only, right? Because single digit can go from 1 to 9. And all the 1 to 9 digit, 1 denotes A and 9 denotes I, sorry, and 9 denotes I, and all these A to I can go alone, right? So what this is essentially saying is, I'm taking this digit alone. You find me the total number of ways of, yeah, if no, 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 no. So Shriram, so what the case here I'm saying is, so you are saying, so Shriram asked, I have asked a good question. So Shriram is saying, if we have a zero in the number, directly zero is the answer. No. So let's say my string is 10. Total number of ways to decode this is one only. Take 10 together, which is a j, right? So one possible way is there. So I have encountered this one in the starting. So what I'm saying is, one can go alone. One can go alone. This one can go alone. Find me the total number of ways to split this zero, and I can append this a in front of all the string that we can get. Yeah, yeah. So Shriram, only 10 and 20 are possible. This case is also possible. 1, 1, 0. In this case, we can take 10 together, one alone, or yeah, only this can be possible. 0 can only go with 10 or 20, but the condition that I have added is, if we are currently at 0, 0, forgot about what we have done before, we are currently at 0. For me, 0 is the starting. For me, 0 is the starting. Then we can't do anything, just simply return it. Return a 0. So in this case, the other case can be, either I can go alone, the other case can be I can go with the digit that is coming next to me. So I have found the next digit. So next digit is the next character minus again 0. I'll get the next digit, and to combine both of them. So if I want to combine 1 and 2, I can combine it using 1 into 10 plus 2. And I can simply check that whether both of these, whether like combining both of them can go together or not. And both of them can go together if the total number that is formed is less than equal to 26. That is less than equal to 26. In this case, we are mentioning that these two digits are going together. Find the total number of ways for id from idx plus 2 all the way up to n. Yeah. So Sriram is saying why 06 is not equal to 6. So Sriram, they are mentioning this in problem statement that you can't consider 06 as 6. That means 06 is different and 06 is different. That is mentioned by the problem statement. Okay, so yeah, this can be the other case, and I'm trusting my function. Basically, I'm taking the decision on current element, and I'm asking my rest of the function to work accordingly. And if somehow I reach the last position, that means I'm, yeah, 0 followed by any character, any alphabet is not allowed. And alphabet can be will be a digit in our case. Yeah. So if we have explored all our elements, that means we have finally managed to reach here. And if we have managed to reach here, that means this is a string. We have decoded it in one form. That means return a 1. So let's say my string is 2 to 6. I've taken this 2 alone. Then I call the function for this 2 6. This for this 2 6, I've taken this 2 alone. Then I call the function for this 6. For this 6, I've taken this 6 alone, and I reached end. When I reached end, I realized that I have decoded it in certain form. Then I return that this is one possible case. Then in the other case, I have taken this 26 together, and I have managed to reach the end. This is another possible way. So this will return 1. So starting from 2, total 2 cases are possible. One, this one and this one. Now we can take 22 together. So we are taking 22 together, and we are asking 6 to break it down, to break down further. So 6 can be broken down into only one possible way. So this is another possible way. So total 3 possible ways are there. Just that's the answer for 2 to 6. Then if you get a 0 check for the digit before it is, yeah, yeah, Sriram. So yeah, you can add a condition, but that will be an overhead. So Sriram is saying me to add a condition which will check if my if wherever I'm getting 0 and 0 is preceding by any other character apart from 1 or 2, then for sure my answer is 0. But that is already handled in this case. You don't have to do anything. Your Go function will take care of everything because I'm not doing any further calculation on all this. Have you guys understand this? Write me a yes, no, understand, not understand. This is the famous problem. These are all the famous problems for all the big companies, for all the MNCs. Others, do you have any doubts in this? People give me a yes or no. What about others? Okay, so let's move on to the next problem. Uh, which one do you want to pick? Distinct subsequences or longest related parentheses? Let's pick this. Or let's pick this. Both are equivalent. So these are all the possible questions that can arrive in any of the interview. There are no more questions. So all you have to do is just practice. Just write a way to write a recursive code and add that particular line. Add that particular line. That's it. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. Okay. So you in this question you have been given a problem statement which you have been given a string which contains only opening parenthesis or closing parenthesis, and you have to find the length of longest valid parenthesis substring. So how a substring is different from subsequence? We have seen a subsequence problem before, which is longest palindromic subsequence. This is a substring. So substring is essentially the continuous elements. You can only have take continuous elements. You can't skip any character in between, just like you can do it in subsequence. So in case of substring, if you are picking ith element, then using stat we can do it. So Shriram is saying using stat we can do it. So Shriram, the stat problem that you are saying, it essentially checks whether my complete string is valid or not. It won't check what is the length of longest parenthesis substring. Yeah, right. Okay, so does anyone of you know like how to approach this problem? We have how much time? Yeah, 30 minutes is pending. I told you, right? Yeah, you can achieve the same with the stack also, basically. So what I'm thinking is, I think for now it's better to pick slightly harder problem. This is a hard problem. Okay, so uh, what I can do is, yeah. Okay, so I can pick this and I can pick iterative DB afterwards. Just after this, I'll try to solve these problems with iterative DB, or basically just explain iterative DB. Let's pick this one. Okay, let's pick this one. Yeah. So I think anyone of you mute yourself, like whoever of you is on. Okay, so never mind. You are given. Okay, yeah. So in this problem statement, you are given two strings S and T, and what you have to do is you have to find the number of distinct subsequences of S which is equal to T. So in this case, if you take this RABBIT, you will get T. If you take this this BBIT, which is distinct subsequence, you will get a rabbit. RAB and the third B, then you'll again get a rabbit. So there are total three possible ways. Can anyone of you mute yourself? Hello, hello, hello. In the other case, but you have this input string BA, BG, BAG, and you have to make this BAG. So what you can do is you can make this BA and take this G. You can take this BA and take this G. You can take a B, take AG. So these are total cases. Total 5 possible cases are there. Okay, we don't have any other case. So we need to find. Have you guys understand the question? So I will be given these two strings. We have to find the total distinct subsequences of S which are equal to T. Have you guys understand the problem statement, or do you want me to repeat it once more? Yeah, to add it, this question was asked to one of my friend recently in the Amazon interview. Okay. Have you guys understood the problem statement? Give me a yes or a no. These two strings are given to me, and I need to find the total number of distinct subsequences of this string. Yeah, ask me. Feel I'm asking if you have any questions. Yeah. Okay, so before waiting further, let's jump to the code for this. So we'll be given we are given these two strings. So let's first convert these two strings into a one-dish index string, the way that I like to work with. So as there are two strings, so I'll take two sizes. Let's put this n as s dot size and put this n as p dot size. Add at the rate to s. Add at the rate to yeah. I have scrolled down completely. It can't be scrolled down. We do this P equals S, Q equals T, P equals to S, Q equals to T. Okay, okay. So essentially what I want to do is I want to find the total number of subsequences. So let's define my go function. There is some disturbance going on. Can any one of you mute that person? Okay, so now I'm defining my go function in such a way that this function, if I'll given this idx, so it will return me all the subsequences which are starting from idx in P and jidx in Q, and have that subsequence equal to T, Q. So in this case, what I'm saying is this idx is denoting to my first string, this jidx is denoting my second string. So if I pass this go function and idx and gidx, so it will return me the total number of subsequences which are starting from idx in P and gidx in Q, and that subsequence is equal to that subsequence in P is equal to Q. So again, similar situation if I have explored all my elements in uh, if I explode all my elements in IDX and let's I'll write this base case afterwards. So again, let's declare a DP array based on the number of arguments. So my arguments are IDX and GIDX, all can be equal to 1000. So it will be 1001. And then my DP of IDX. Some part of the code is fixed for all the DP problems. Okay, yeah. So what I'm saying now is, let's say I'm currently at first position in this string and first position in this string. Let's say in the first case, if my P of idx equals Q of gidx, if the first character of both the strings are equal, that means what I can do is I can find the total number of ways if I'm picking both of these characters. If I'm taking this particular B, if I'm taking this particular B, I can go to the next position in both of the strings. If my both the characters are same. Apart from this, what I can do is I can't skip any character from T because I need to make this complete string T, right? So what I can do is the other case can be, in this case, I'm taking this IDX element, and because it got matched to one of the starting characters in the other string. The other case that is possible is I can skip my first character and find the total number of ways to make this answer. Before returning, I can assign it to my IDX and GIDX. And what can be my base case? So my base case is, so I'm simply similar to the previous question, what I'm doing in this case is, uh, I'm basically trying to match both of them. I don't know whether using this character I'll be able to make something or not. But for now, if they both are equal, one character is matching. So at least let's try to move to the next position for finding the remaining, like whether, let's move to the next position and try to make that particular string. So if I reach the end, that means my second string is entirely completed. If I've crossed the limit of the second string, if I've crossed the limit of the second string, that means I've made the second string. That means this is the possible case. So whatever elements I've picked in the first string, uh, I'll be able to make this second string. So if that is the case, then return one, else return a zero. Simply call this method with a one and one because I need to, in the starting, I want to compare both of these starting elements. Oh yeah, sorry, answer is not clear. Okay, so it's showing me a wrong answer. Have I missed something? Yeah, I haven't initialized my DP array with a minus one. I got it. Yeah, I'm getting three answers. Let's try this case too before submitting. Uh, it's working fine. Let's submit it. Accepted. Any doubts in this question? Again, three parts. Base case. Base case is saying if I've explored my first string completely, just check whether my second string is also completed. If that is the case, then I'm able to make the second string completely. Then I should return a one. If I am somewhere else apart from greater than m position, then I should return a zero because in that case, some characters of the B strings are not made still. They are incomplete as of now. Right? So in that case, return a zero. If the case, if I've already calculated the answer for that case, return that. Otherwise, if my both the characters are same, one of the possibility can be find that I'm taking this both characters and find me the check if you can find the total number of cases for find the total number of cases for making the string from starting from IDX plus one and then the GIDX plus one. Or if both the characters are not same, that means in this case you are picking this IDX element, in this case you are leaving this IDX element because GIDX is same, you are not comparing that with the GIDX. Is this clear to all of you, or do you have any doubts? Do you want me to repeat this again? Any doubts? 5 minutes for your doubts. Ask me anything. Are you guys reading it again, or do you have any doubts? Not understand anything at all? Write me. Write me in the chat. Others, I want some 5 yes. Do you have any doubts in this? Do you want me to explain this to you again? People, write me a yes or a no. Others, I forgot the name, Manasa, Shrikar. Do you get it? Guys, write a yes or a no. Or do you have any doubts, people? No activities, guys. Write anything. At least write anything. If you have any doubts, write it, please. Otherwise, how will I get to know? Anyone waiting for 1 or 2 more minutes? Okay. So, Sufyan is saying Sufyan wants to know about at the rate, the at the rate that I'm adding in front of string. Okay, I'll talk about that. Anything else, guys? Yeah. So, about at the rate, what I'm doing is, let's say I've been given a string s, a, b, 7, a, b, d, something like this. This is my string s, which is given to me as an input. If I print the size of this string, it will come as 4, right? Now, the indexing from which this, the indexing of this string will be 0, 1, 2, 3. So what I'm doing is, I'm doing this. I'm adding this at the rate plus I'm doing this. Doing this, it will make this 7abd as at the rate 7abd. I'm assigning this string to some other global string, let's say p. Okay, and I've taken the size. Now the string that is of importance for me is 7abd, right? Which have indexing 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is what I want. I want a string from 1 based indexing. I want to make it from 1 to 4, right? And I have achieved my goal. This at the rate is junk for me. I've added this at the rate so that I can remove this 0 position. I like making the indexing from 1 to 1. It's much simpler. Understand? Have you understood this? So, yeah. Similar to like if we have a vector as 1, 2, 3, what I was doing is I was appending a 0 in front of that, right? I was appending a 0 in front of that. So to make this a one-based indexing. Similarly, in this case, in case of string, I'm adding a necessary character to basically shift the string one position forward. Okay, we are removing 0 by adding a character. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's talk something about iterative DP. For now, as of now, this is the simplest way of doing the DP. Simplest way is think of some of the states for which you can make a decision, write a go function for that, add a base condition based on these parameters, add a DP condition to check whether it is already computed or not. Like go through all the possible cases by calling this go method, make all the decisions on the current state, call this go function again, and combine it in such a form. So if we want to find total number of cases, we can we can do an AND operation, like addition operation, just like we are doing it in this case. We are adding the total number of answers. If we want to find the maximum or minimum of something, we can take a maximum. We can take a maximum, and after that, go function will take care of rest of the things because after reaching the base condition, it will basically tries to unroll itself, go backtrack again, right? So what we are essentially doing is we are taking on the decision on the first step, asking the go function for taking the step, computing this further information. In case of iterative DP, what happens is we build the solution just by moving forward. So if we are currently at this position, we'll have the answer till this position. If we are till this position, we have the answer till this position. If we are at this position, we'll use the answers of all of these. We'll use the answers of all of these to calculate the optimal answer till here. If we are at this position, we'll use the answer of all of these optimals to calculate the answer of this. So till wherever position, and this iteration will be done with the help of loops. Previously we are doing recursion, but now we'll use normal for loops, and for loops will take care of all of them. We'll keep on building the answers as we move forward, and yeah, that's it. So in that case, it will go something like this. If I'm currently at ith position, right, I'll use the answer till my answers of my previous positions to compute the optimal answer for my ith position. So we talked about one problem which is known as longest increasing subsequence, right? Longest increasing subsequence. And for that, what I did was what I had did in the recursive code is currently I was at IDX element, and I had planned that I'll take this element and I'll find the next element which is bigger than me, and I'm picking myself. I'm sure that I'm picking myself, and I was finding all the next position that I can get, right? So if it was 4, 1, 7, 3, 8, so the longest increasing subsequence in this case will be so this is 8 and this is a 9. The longest increasing subsequence in this case is 4, 7, 8, and 9. This is increasing, right? Is that clear to all of you? So this function for this case, my answer will be 4. Now we'll try to solve this problem with the help of like iterative DP. Iterative DP is as you are moving, keep building the answer, and use the already builded answer. Use the already builded answer to compute the answer for this current position. So let's say I'm currently at 4. Forget about all these. I'm currently at 4. Okay, so what is the length of maximum increasing subsequence? Ending at 4. Just forget about all these. You are planning till here, till 4. What is the length of maximum increasing subsequence? It's 1. Take 4 alone. Right? This is my array that I want to compute. I will find the length of maximum increasing subsequence ending at that particular position. What is the length of maximum? What is the length of maximum increasing subsequence ending at 1? It will be 1, right? We are taking 1 alone. What is the length of maximum increasing subsequence ending at 7? Okay, so it will be, you can either append this 7 in front of this one, or you can use this 4 and append this 7 in front of this 4, right? So how have you calculated the answer for this 7? So the answer in this case is 2. You can either append this 7 in front of 1, or you can append this 7 in front of 4. In both the cases, you will get an answer of 2, right? So how have you calculated the answer for this 7? So what you did was, you currently have 7. You iterated to all the elements at the back of it. I first go to 1. I know the answer, the length of maximum increasing subsequence till 1 is 1. Okay, till 1 is 1. And I know 7 is greater than 1. I don't care about what all elements you have placed before 1. What I care about is the last element that you have placed is 1, and I am 7. I am greater than 1. So you can append me in front of 1. And the maximum length till 1 was 1. So if you are appending 7 in front of that, you will get a 2. Then you went to 4. The answer till 4 was 1. The answer till 4 was 1. You forgot about all the elements before 4. 7 was saying that 4, I can be placed in front of 4. So the maximum length that I can get is, what was the maximum length till 4, which is 1 plus 1, which is a 2, right? Then I move to 8. I want to append 8 in front of someone. Let's say I tried appending it in front of 7. Can I append it? Yes, I can append it. I forgot about all the cases, all the elements prior to 7, because that is not what I have to deal with. What I have to deal with in this case is, can I place 8 outside after 7? Yes, we can do it because 8 is greater than 7. And what was the maximum length that we can get till 7? It was 2. So the answer till 8 will be 2 plus 1, which is 3. This is the first case. The other case can be, you can place 8 in front of this 1. Can you place it? Yes, because 1 is less than 8, so you can place 8 after 1. So the maximum length is maximum length till 1. Length till 1 was 1, and you are appending 8 in front of that, so the maximum length is 1 plus 1, which is 2. So if you are appending 8 in front of 1, you will get 2, and if you are, then you will go to 4. You can check, yes, 8 can be appended in front of 4. The maximum length that you can get till 4 is 1, and the maximum length, if you are appending 8 in front of 4, will be 1 plus 1, which is 2. And you will take a maximum of all of them, because you want maximum length till 8, which is 3. So this is how we'll keep on building the elements. Let me quickly write the code. We have 5 minutes. I'll quickly write the code for this. It will be very simple. So let me declare all the libraries. Let me put the size of that. Oops. I basically prefer one based indexing. I will put this array outside n plus 1. Let me declare another B array which will compute my maximum answer. Let's declare this as a constant. What I'm saying is, the answer till the first element I told you is 1, because you have to forward all the elements from 2 to n. For all the elements from 2 to n, what you have to do is just move from I minus 1 all the way up to 1, and check whether you can place this ith element in front of jth element or not. And you can do that if your array of jth element is less than array of ith element. Then you can place the ith element in front of j. You can take the maximum of what the answer was for what was the answer for what d of j and add a one because I can add it and simply make this as a one. Answer, yeah, or simply declare this as one because this ith element can go alone and my final answer can be final answer is maximum of all of this. I'll take this example as my input 417839. 417839. I will run it. I hope I haven't compilation error shouldn't be there. Please, please. Yeah, I got a 4 length, right? So basically, I keep on building the answer. So if I print my b of I here, I'll wait for you. Yeah, so it will basically print me all the till all the ith index, what is the maximum length that I can get. So my array was 417839. Till 4, the maximum length is 1. Till 1, it is 1. Till 7, it can be either 47 or 17. Both have the length 2. Till 8, it is 478. The length is 3. Till 3, you can only append 3 in front of this one, so the length is 2. And for 9, you can have 4, 7, 8, and 9. The maximum length is 4. And you have to take the maximum of all of them because any of the subsequents will end at least some position, right? It will end at some position, so I'll take the maximum of all of them. So the maximum of all of them is 4. So that's why this maximum is basically computing the maximum among all of them. Have you guys understood this? Just write me a yes or a no on the chat. So we are basically keep on building the answer by having the optimal answer for some other position prior to. I hope you got the difference between all of them. In that case, we were in the recursive code, we are making the choices for the ith position and calling my go function again, which will take care of rest of the cases. And in this case, we are we are building the answer till ith element. Till ith element, we are building the answer, and for calculate the answer for some position, we are using all the calculated answers. We are keeping on building the answer as we move forward, and we are taking the maximum amount of them. We are finding certain differences, right, between both of them. I think we'll pick some more problems, and it will be even more clear then. For now, have you guys understand all this? Write me a yes on the chat if you guys have understood this. Apart from Sriram, anyone else? Like, do you have any doubts, people? Let me call out the name. Sufyan, Manasa. Understood this. Manasa, have you understood? Yeah. Thanks. Shikar is not there. Vivek, Vivek is also not there. Vivek is not there. Yeah, I think that's it, guys. Thank you everyone for giving your time, and I hope you have learned something today. Just try and practice more questions only to try for both the approaches. Try for building the problem from as you move forwards, or try taking the recursion, take care of all of it. Thank you, and bye, guys. And let me know if you if you have any questions. I know this is slightly difficult to understand in the first place, but I think as you move forward, it will be very helpful for all of you. Cool, then I'm dropping off. Bye.